What's up guys, Coach MANdler here, Team Swole Patrol. Today's video I want to answer an Ask MANdler question for one Praven Murphy who wants to know more about the Z press, the Zydrunas press. And if you don't know what the hell I'm talking about, relax. I'm going to show you exactly what it is when I do a sample set. I'm going to give you some quality cues, what to look for when doing it, and how to properly initiate it so that you don't snap your shit up, because as you'll learn in this video, it's some advanced shit, alright? Some next level stuff. It's not for a certain group, it's definitely for more of the advanced lifter, but when put into your program, it has a great way of developing a lot of upper back size and strength. Obviously, some bigger anterior delts and long head of the triceps, and of course, a whole shit fuck ton of core strength. So let's first talk about who shouldn't be doing it, and then talk about some of the things you can do to do it effectively for those gains that I just talked about. Alright, before I actually take you to the video of me performing the Z press and hit you up with them cues, it's going to help you do it right, do it safe, and get them gains you want from it. Let me first briefly explain what the hell it is. You're essentially doing an overhead press off of pins, but here's the kicker. You're doing it not on your feet, but while you're on your ass and your legs are either extended straight in front of you or extended in a V formation, okay? And the reason this makes things so much more insanely difficult on you is that it forces you to rely on more of the active stabilization of your core than the passive stabilization of your core, all right? By passive, I mean the passive stabilization you get when doing a regular overhead press on your feet is that you have a good wide stance that gives you natural stabilization, all right? When you're on your ass, it forces you to stabilize far more of the inner and outer core in the thoracic region, as well as all the way down into the pelvic region of your core. So let's first talk about how this is going to be a deterrent for those that might not be ready for this advanced overhead press variation in the first place. Okay, let's first talk about the thoracic region of the core and how it's going to impact this lift. Okay, so when you see the lift, you're going to notice I have extreme thoracic extension and good solid retraction and depression of my scapula. I do that along with proper bracing techniques in order to create more stiffness and stability in that region of the spine, okay? Because without that, as without that in the overhead press, traditional overhead press, you're not going to be able to effectively complete the movement, all right? For this specific movement, what's going to happen is essentially you're just going to kind of tilt back. You're going to fall back, okay? So the first thing I'll tell you is that if you have a hard time creating stiffness and stabilizing that thoracic region of the spine, maybe you have kind of a kyphotic, hunch back, then this is not going to be a variation of the overhead press that you are ready for, okay? Now, the other end of the spectrum is going to be the lumbar region that I want to talk about, okay? We want to maintain a neutral spine. We want to make sure that everything from the top of the thoracic spine all the way down to the pelvic floor is in complete alignment, okay? We want to make sure that's the case, because if not, we're going to cause a lot of stress in and around our spine, and the last thing you want to do is get your shit all snapped up, okay? So, in regards to the lumbar region, if you have some severe anterior pelvic tilt, let's say you have really tight hip flexors, okay? Your psoas and your iliacus are all tight, and you have that kind of forward tilt with your pelvis. You're not going to be able to maintain a neutral spine. And also, if you have really weak or tight hamstrings, you're simply not going to be able to maintain the proper positioning that this movement requires as well. So if you're having issues with either one of those two issues, you're simply not going to be able to get any real benefit from this because you're just not ready for it. You're far better off working on hip mobility, especially with your psoas, and increasing strength and flexibility in your hamstrings to make sure your lumbar region isn't the limiting factor. And for your upper portion of the spine, the thoracic portion of the spine, you need to make sure you address that kyphosis by simply increasing more attention with your training on the posterior side of things instead of always just what you see in the mirror, right? That's a pretty general meathead condition there, and it's very simple to address. But when you do those two things, you're going to start seeing a far better ability for you to move weight efficiently, safely, and more powerfully as well, because within that neutral spine that you maintain, if you address them, you're going to simply be able to transmit more force that your hips and everything below them is able to generate into and through your core and through your upper body into whatever implement that you are lifting. So as I mentioned, if you're rocking some mean kyphosis, got that jankety ass hunchback look in your upper back, or on the lower end of things, if you have some anterior pelvic tilt from really tight hip flexors, you probably want to take a hard pass on this advanced overhead variation, simply because you're not going to be able to even put yourself in proper position to safely or effectively initiate and finish this movement in the first place. Okay, so what I would do is address those two issues until you can safely and efficiently keep a neutral spine with load, and then you can eventually move on to introducing it. But for those that don't have either one of these limiting factors, then you are about to enter a world of pain. Good pain though, I promise. It's a very effective exercise that you should be throwing in. And in order to do that, I'm going to simply show you this set and coach you up on what it takes to effectively do it and how to effectively program it in for the gains we talked about earlier in the video. Let me just say this, before you even get to doing this, make sure that you work on some good scapular retraction drills to make sure that you can maintain that thoracic extension, and also address any hip mobility or hip tightness issues that you might have before getting warmed up. All right, do some hurdle drills and do a hip flexor stretch, because like I said, the psoas and the iliacus are going to, if they're tight, they're going to prevent you from being able to maintain that proper position that you're going to be in while doing this overhead press movement. So make sure you address those two things, and that will provide you the stability that you need and the mobility that you need to effectively throw this in. Let's get rolling with the footage. Alright, for proper setup of the Z-press, what you want to do is set the pins so that the bar lays right over your clavicles, and to initiate it, you want to pull that bar right up into your throat. In regards to the press itself, as with all overhead press variations, get that head through and stack your levers so they're all in alignment at the top. In regards to the thoracic spine region, make sure you have good scapular retraction and depression, and maintain quality intra-abdominal pressure by bracing your core as tight as possible. In regards to your lumbar spine, flex your glutes and your psoas as hard as possible so that you can stabilize the pelvis. Alright, so at this point we know exactly what the Z-press is, how to effectively initiate the movement, who should be and who shouldn't be doing it. Now I want to talk about how to effectively program it in so that you can get some of them gains in size and strength in and around your anterior delts, your upper back, and the long hand of your triceps, as well as mainly a nice little side dish of that bulletproof core that allows you to move and lift like an absolute beast. Okay, so as far as programming goes, you can use it as one of two ways. You can use it as a core lift, but I will say if you're going to use it as a core lift, don't do it as a max effort lift. It's kind of a compromising position that you're going to be in, and it requires a lot of active stability in an area that you don't want to put too much stress in. So I want you to focus on increasing your strength and stabilization for a stiffer spine. All right, that will help your lifting, but don't do so at the extent of trying to lift more in the fucking Z press. All right, it's a badass lift, but don't get hurt on the fucking Z press. That's just a dipshit move, okay? What I do instead is use it as a moderate weight and moderate volume accessory exercise after I do my bench press work or my overhead press work, all right? So typically I'll add 3 to 4 sets of anywhere from 8 to 12 reps, okay? Not extremely high volume, but kind of sticking in that hypertrophy range if you want to do it the safe way and in a way that will build strength as well as the size that you want from it. So just to wrap this up, as long as you don't have any lingering thoracic spine or lumbar spine postural issues, you know how to properly initiate and finish the movement, as well as properly program it in to get the functional size gains that you're looking for from it. It is definitely one that you should be adding to the arsenal. Believe it, it's a tough exercise, but if anything, it is definitely worth you putting some time and effort into mastering. And in regards to the ability to program for more of that functional size that will allow you to look and perform like a manimal, then if you haven't done so already, make sure you pick up your free copy of the muscle building blueprint that I put together for you by clicking on this button right here or going down to the description area of the video and clicking on the first link that you see. When you do that, I'll take you to another page which breaks down every module you're getting with this free gift, as well as how it's going to teach you how to effectively program to get more functional muscle mass that allows you to not just look like, but perform like an absolute beast, both inside and outside of the gym. Like I said, it's free, so click there or click down the link below and I'll take you that free gift page. And in regards to your Ask MANdler questions, if you've got one for me and want a video response, all you gotta do is simply leave that question down there in the comment section below. And before you leave, of course, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the kick-ass tips and routines that I'll be hooking you up with on the reg. Appreciate your time, guys. Have a good one. MANdler out.